Reppin' Philly ain't a choice, it's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one-stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Brotherly Birds breakdown for Week 12, Dallas week. And we got a lot to get into, but we are the Montgomery brothers. I'm Jim.
I'm Kyle.
What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? Happy F Dallas week. You know, it's a holiday for us. Always been a holiday for us. So welcome.
As well it should be. I feel like, especially in Philadelphia, it should be a holiday.
Yes.
It's been great seeing all the different interviews and flashbacks and highlights on Twitter all week, too.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I look forward to this all the time, man, because it brings up a lot of memories for sure.
It does. We'll get into some of those memories later, but first, there was a game last Sunday night, and
There was.
I said it last week. It was a huge game. I think the outcome of the game was huge. Not necessarily what we expected, though.
It was not. I think we both expected higher scoring than what happened. But I'll be honest, I'll take it. The Eagles defense played extremely well. And look, before we get into it too far, I understand that the Lions went for it on fourth down 5 times, 6 if you include the fake punt. However, that doesn't mean that the Eagles defense still didn't play a huge role in making those stops. You know what I mean?
Right.
I hear a lot that, oh, well, Detroit lost that game by going 4 or 5 times. They were only in field goal range twice. One of them was a chip shot. The other one was a 50-plus yarder in the swirling wind. So there was no guarantee from Dan Campbell. That's why he went for it 5 times on fourth down.
No, and
Exactly
you saw
why he
the
did
extra point.
Exactly. So let's stop all that. The Eagles, we're lucky because Detroit, let's just stop, put that to bed right now. The Eagles defense came out and dominated arguably one of the most, if not the most, explosive offenses in the league.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand that when I heard people say that this week, because if it's that big of a deal, why did he stop going for it on fourth down? He knew he couldn't do it. And there's a reason why. I mean, that's what he does. But listen, to go 0 for 5 is pretty damn impressive. And to not even be remotely faked out by the fake, they left the base defense in there. And I noticed, I kept telling you, I'm like, somebody's doing a fake today. I still think the Eagles, but that's a whole nother story for another time. But they knew it was coming. That's just either poor gamesmanship on Dan Campbell or the Eagles did their homework.
I think it's a little both. I think it was poor execution on the Lions' part. But I think the Eagles did more of their homework, and they knew how aggressive he was going to be. The one where it was 4th and 9, I didn't expect him to go for that, but he did. You know what I mean? But 4th and 6 or 4th and 5 or less, I expect him to go for that every time because he does. It doesn't matter what the weather is or anything. He always does. So we knew that was coming, but the 4th and 9 kind of threw me. But look, is it a completely different game in that situation if they punt? Sure, especially the way that our offense was playing. It was kind of dumb on his part to go for it, but at the same time, he knew that our offense wasn't clicking. So why not go for it and give your offense a better shot?
Smart. I think it was smart of him to go for it, but I don't know. I mean, and I think once they got 1 or 2, the defense, they started feeling it, and they're like, all right, you're going to disrespect us by going again? Okay.
Yep.
And I mean, I think they just wanted it more. And for a team that came in with all the stuff they've been talking for the past year and a half, to have the Eagles actually on defense want it more, I mean, that says a lot about both teams, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the way that Detroit has always said for the last year to a year and a half now is that, they were the team to beat. It should have been, you heard in the offseason that that should have been them in the Super Bowl. Come on. Like, how many times did the Eagles, like us as fans, say that? Like, we said it in those early
Tampa
2000s.
Bay,
Correct.
Carolina, even the
Correct.
Rams to a certain point. Yeah.
Right, right. Definitely the Tampa Bay one and the Carolina one.
Arizona.
Arizona, that was another one, right? So I think the Eagles finally put that to bed, and I think the Eagles proved why they're the number one seed in the NFC. You know, plain and
Agree.
simple.
No, I mean, and it was good to see. I mean, especially because, like you said, that is an explosive offense, and that was one of my keys was limiting the explosive plays. I figured they were going to get one or two anyway, and I mean, I guess the Jamison Williams touchdown was semi-explosive, but I mean, it was still under 20 yards. I think it was probably the most explosive play they had.
Yeah, I mean the golf threw for what 250, I think it was, but over 120 of that came on swing passes to the running back.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was pretty much, I'm going to throw a 2-yard pass to Jameer Gibbs and let him do all the work, and then I get the stats for it. Like, that's basically what it was. They had him
Yeah.
locked down, and you called it throughout the whole game. He looked uneasy out there. He just looked uneasy, like he wasn't able to get settled in that pocket because the Eagles' front line, that pass rush, was getting to him pretty quickly. Like, they were getting in that backfield pretty damn good.
No, I mean, I mean the pet. Like, let's talk about that. I mean, so you have the edge rushers, and the addition to Jalen Phillips, I think, is helping Moro Jomo out. But I mean, when you have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter blowing up the middle like that, it doesn't matter who really you put out there. I mean, he had happy feet, and I think that's what they needed out of those guys, and that helps takes the pressure off because once again, we're going to talk about it, but CB2 wasn't a liability necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, 2 things, right? So the pass rush rotation, like that defensive line, I know it's gonna be you're gonna hear a lot of comparisons to last year and even 2022. I'm gonna do you one better. That front line reminded me of 2017 Super Bowl team and how deep they were on the defensive line, where
Right.
they had 8 people they were rolling in and out at all times to keep legs fresh, and it just proved fits for offensive lines, and that's exactly what they had. You got Phillips, Carter, Davis, Ajomo, Nolan Smith, BG, Jalen Hunt. You got 7 deep that you're rolling in and out of there. And then if you throw Campbell in as the X factor that can play the edge, there's your eighth. And they're always having fresh legs, which is fantastic. It's awesome. If we can finally get Ty Robinson to do anything and at least clog up that middle,
Who?
yeah, exactly. That's another guy, right? So, um, key CB2, Dory Jackson played his best game as a Philadelphia Eagle, and we needed it. We needed it. He played
Right.
great, and he was actually tackling. Amazing what can happen when you actually tackle. It's crazy. When you remember how to wrap up, it's amazing what can happen. And he was playing great coverage. He was playing tight coverage. And if he can continue to play like that, that just gives Vic another tool in the tool belt, man.
No, especially against St. Brown. I mean, I have him in fantasy, and I was like, all right, I'll get some yards and some points here. But I mean, he was on him almost exclusively the whole game too, and just
Yeah.
shut him down. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, I think it shows you that, even though from a fantasy perspective, Laporta wasn't lighting the world on fire this year, he's very important to
yeah,
that offense. Very important, and we notice it too when Dallas Goedert's not out there. Even though Dallas Goedert's not putting up Pro Bowl numbers, if he's not out there across that middle of the field, you notice it. You notice it a lot. So, Laporta definitely hurt them by not being out there and being out.
yeah,
But kudos to the Eagles defense, man, because one of the keys of the game last week was getting pressure on Golf and making him unstable and making him nervous back there, and that's what they did, and it proved
yeah,
wonders. I mean, they got a couple turnovers, and look, can we acknowledge the fact that Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are beasts when it comes to deflecting the ball? They have that down to a science. whether it's on
100%.
field goals, whether it's on passes, no matter what it is, you can tell that they practice that. So let's go back to the Rams game and everybody giving shit that the Eagles are lucky, all this other stuff. No, they clearly practiced that. And
Yeah.
now I guarantee you, if you look at the stats, I should have done this. I didn't do it. I guarantee you, between Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, they're at the top of the league in batted passes for defensive linemen. They
Oh,
have to
yeah.
be. They
Yeah.
have to be.
But I mean, you're right about a science to that because I heard Donovan on the afternoon show this week on WIP, and they asked him about it, and he's like, truthfully, he's like, there's nothing you don't change the way you throw as a quarterback. Essentially, he was like,
Correct.
you're going to do what you got to do, and he was like, those guys, to your point, there's something about their timing and the way they disguise it. He's like, but there's nothing you can do. He's like, once you start doing that, it throws off timing and everything else. So, I mean, it's like an extra weapon almost in there on defense when those guys are so good at doing that.
100%. And look, when you got a guy like Jordan Davis size, what is he, 6'5", and everything like that, and then he jumps, he sacrifices his body basically
He
because
got hammered a couple of those times he
well, and he
jumped.
landed flat on his back, but he blocked those passes, and that's what Kelsey says that he goes, as offensive lineman, you're taught as soon as a guy leaves his feet, you're taught to jab him in the chest and knock his legs out from under him,
Yeah.
which that's what the Lions' offensive line did, but he still was able to block that pass. He sacrificed that for that. So, you can't tell me that they don't practice that and they don't time it right, and they're just good at it, man. They're just so good at it, and it's gonna mean a lot going down the stretch against some of these teams. And look, Dak's not taller than Jared Goff,
He's
and he
not.
throws that same way. So I can see some of that happening this weekend too.
No, I agree. So, how much do you think we talked about N'Kobe Dean last week, but how much do you think that the fact that those guys all played together at Georgia and now they're in their fourth year together in the NFL, how much do you think that plays a role with their being comfortable together and knowing, like, Davis knows what Carter's going to do, they know N'Kobe's got what he can do out there. That has to be a huge part of what makes them go too.
I think it plays a huge role, but I think what is probably underestimated more is the fact that because they played together in the NFL now for 4 years, but then they played in college for at least 2 to 3 together.
Right.
So it's a family type thing where that other guy is gonna be there. That other guy is fighting just as hard as you are, and it makes you play harder. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
know as well as I do from playing sports that if you know somebody else is giving just as much, if not more effort as you're gonna give just as much effort as they are because you don't wanna let them down, and I feel like that's what those guys have. They have that mentality, and it's contagious because Jalen Phillips is coming in, and he bought in right away. But Zach Vaughn does the exact same thing. Then you got it probably makes it a lot easier for them knowing that they have so many dogs behind them too. Knowing that you got Blankenship that'll pop you. You got, Coop and Q that just do what they're supposed to do. And look, I know it's we talked about him and we talked about him being a rookie, but Makuba has played extremely well the last 3 weeks. And maybe there's a connection there between him and N'Kobe that we didn't see
Maybe
for
it's
the
yeah.
first it's maybe there's a communication thing there where they're always talking to each other about where you need to be because Makuba has played well. Even in pass defense, he's played well. So, you know,
I was going to
I'm
bring
liking
him
what I'm
up
seeing.
too because I was going to say he looks like a completely different player than what he did earlier in the season. Which, I mean, part of that has to be the pass rush, though. And you mentioned 2017. Part of the reason that secondary was terrible
Hmm.
between Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby. They weren't that good, but when the quarterback's under constant pressure, it makes them look better. And you saw what happened in the Super Bowl when they weren't able to get pressure. Tom Brady picked them apart.
Yeah,
So
he set a
I
record.
think you,
He set a record.
yeah, and I think you can get away a little bit with Adoree Jackson, which just seems to be Vic's guy. But I think you can get away with him. I think this is probably going to be the biggest test left in the season as far as receivers. But I mean, I don't know if I would say CD and George Pickens are probably slightly better than St. Brown and Williams, but not by much. And I don't the difference is, and I don't want to get too much into breaking down the Cowboys game. The difference is they don't have anybody as good as either of those running backs, let alone both of them.
Right, right. I mean, Javonte Williams is coming along, but he's not at that level where Gibbs and Montgomery are
No.
by far. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So there were two units on the field last week for the Eagles. They scored 16 points.
They did. They
They
did,
scored more
which
than
was
they
enough
did
to
against.
win.
It was more than they did against the Packers.
There was a famous person once that said, "What's the object of the game?" And it was to score more than the other team. That's it. And they scored more than the other team, regardless of how that looked. So
No,
th-
I
at the end of the day, I made this comparison to a couple guys earlier this week, and I'm anxious to get your take on this because I think this is probably accurate. And considering we just brought up this team from the early 2000s, this team currently, as it's assembled, reminds me of the early 2000 Patriots, like those early 2000 teams with Brady just coming into his own. The defense was the leader of that team,
yep.
and the offense was asked to just not turn the ball over and don't lose the game. Now, as fans and realistic people, it's frustrating because of how much money we have invested on the offensive line, and we know what they're capable of doing because you bring back 10 of 11 starters from last year. So we get in our heads, hey, NFC Championship game, Super Bowl, we saw what they're capable of doing. Why aren't they doing that? But we don't think about everything else that goes into that. The fact that the offensive line has only played one complete game as a unit all year, as they were constructed to do. That's it. That's it. There's been interchanges here. There's been this guy out a game, that guy out three, this guy out, that guy out. So your strength of your team is your offensive line, really, right? And it hasn't been your strength because you've constantly had to play backups, which depletes your depth. So if any of those backups go down, you're screwed. And that's what's happened this
Right.
year, where you've had to play third string offensive linemen who don't get any reps with the first team all week. And that has a huge impact. Look at Shador Sanders this past week. Everybody's like, oh, he's a bust. He hasn't practiced with the first
No,
team all year. And that was his first chance. I guarantee you, bold take right now, Shador Sanders is going to come out and ball out this week because he's had
I could
all
see that.
week. He's had all week to practice with the first team, albeit that first team is garbage. He still had enough time to gel with them and do all that stuff. So, look, offense needs to play better. I want to make sure that I say that, and I want everybody to understand that I am an Eagles fan. I understand that the offense needs to play better, okay? But they're not losing games because of the offense.
They're not.
They're not.
No.
They're not. So until that starts happening, I don't care. I don't care. I know that they need to play better, and I think that they will when they need to. But at this current time, I don't care enough to worry about it because Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni as a collective, when they don't turn the ball over in their last 42 games, they're 40-2 when they win the turnover battle. Do that. Do that.
Whatever that
That's a
is, it
hell of a clip.
works.
Yes, it's a hell of
Yeah.
a clip to win at. So as long as you don't turn the ball over, I don't care what you do. Continue to do it. I don't care if receivers get pissed off. I don't care if 90% of the fans get pissed off. I care about wins. That's it. I care about wins.
That's
It doesn't need to look pretty.
no, and I think you mentioned the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. If you look at the entire sort of body of work of last season, those were the outliers. That wasn't what that offense was. And to your point with the offensive line, a lot of those games, Jalen had numbers because teams were stacking the box trying to stop Saquon, and they just weren't
Exactly.
able to do it because the offensive line was healthy. So I think to come in and expect coming off the Super Bowl and even the NFC Championship game that that's what the offense was going to be, I don't know if that was the right mindset to have because that's never been. If you look, go back to Sirianni's first year in 2021, they were terrible trying to figure it out until all of a sudden they started running the ball, and they went from never running the ball to being having the most rushes in the league after he gave his flower speech and all that. And that's been the identity of that team, or his teams, whether it was DeAndre Swift, whether it was Miles Sanders, they run the ball.
Yeah.
And I think to expect what now, is Jalen capable of having those games every now and then? Yeah, but he's not going to sling the ball like Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to throw for 300 yards consistently like a Josh Allen, but he doesn't need to. Like I think that's where everybody gets lost in. Oh well, his numbers this. He can do it if he has to. He's one of those guys. I take what the defense gives me. And if you saw against the Chiefs this year, sure, okay, I threw for 100 yards, but we got the win. Shut the f
Mhm.
up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying, man. Like, it's I think we're at a point right now where we need to understand what we're seeing, and we need to, like, appreciate it, because I think, again, I brought this up for the last few weeks on we're talking to multiple people. We get so enamored in the NFL right now with it being an offensive league that we forgot that the main objective is to win, right? The main objective
It's
is to
fantasy
win.
football. Yeah.
That's it. So everybody wants to see a quarterback throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. It means nothing in a loss. It means nothing in a loss. Ask Brady in that Super Bowl that we just talked about in 2017. Would he have rather set a record for most passing yards in a Super Bowl, or would he rather have the Super Bowl win? He'd rather have the win. He doesn't want that record. He wants to have the win.
Ask Dan Marino if he'd rather be the all-time leading passer or have that Super Bowl ring against the 49ers. And I'm sure you know what he would say.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think, and look, I'm going to be quick and brief with my 2 cents this week. Jalen Hurts is a winner. I never said, and I don't think any Eagles fan will ever say he's going to be the greatest quarterback ever. I'm not putting him in a tier with Tom Brady when it comes to 7 Super Bowls. I would love for him to get to 7 Super Bowls. Do I think that's a realistic thing? No, right? But did anybody think it was realistic for Brady to get 7? No. So we'll see what
No,
happens. And I'm not comparing the two. I'm not putting him in that category. I'm just saying, look,
we're
he's
going
a
viral
winner.
now.
Right, yeah, right? So, I think, you know, it's one of those things that we dealt with this, and you and I have been on the McNabb train for years. We were probably 2 of the only fans on the McNabb train during McNabb's time here. We still are on the McNabb train because just like 5 will always love us, we will always love number 5. But I don't want the same situation to happen with Hurts. Right? We need to appreciate what we have because the dude is wired differently, and I need people to understand that. He's not going to put up 300 yards a game and 3 touchdowns. That's not what he's wired to do. But you know what he's wired to do? Win. He's wired to win, and that's what he does through his leadership, through his actions, through everything else. He's a winner. Him and Sirianni are on pace to go down as the greatest quarterback coach duo in regards of winning percentage history. And you know what everybody's going to say? He was a horrible quarterback and he's an even worse coach. How? How can you say that when
Right.
they have that winning percentage? It just boggles my mind. So at this point, it's clear that people are just looking for a reason to hate on the Eagles. They're just looking for a reason, right? So now they're starting the drama when the AJ Brown drama didn't work. Now they're going, oh well, people and Derek Gunn. Look, you're a well-respected guy in the Philadelphia media, but shut your mouth up. Just shut up. We already know Diana Rossini's a you know what? Like we know she's a hole, right? We
She's
know
my
she's an
favorite.
a-hole. Yeah. Yeah, she likes to stir the pot. She's a pot stirrer, and this is coming from a massive pot stirrer myself, so I understand. I get it. This isn't the pot calling the kettle black. This is we're together on this one, Diana. I understand your whole cliche and your gimmick here. At the same time, Derek Gunn, man, the drama he likes to start, he just comes out randomly now in week 11. You don't say shit all season, and then in week 11, you decide to come out and go, people in the organization. Sirianni shut it down quick and was like, I'm not frustrated with him. He wins games. He does everything we ask him to do. Simple as that. So I think as Eagles fans, as the media, I said it last week, I'll say it again. Media needs to stay in their lane and keep their mouth shut. I've never seen an 8-2 team get scrutinized so much for being 8-2 and people not liking how they got there. Never seen it before. Think about the years that you and I struggled when we couldn't even watch them on TV because they were blacked out
Blacks
because
out.
nobody would go to the
Mhm.
games. When they were 3-13, we would have killed to be 8-2. Killed. We would have loved to be 8-2. But here we are, we're 8-2, and people are looking for a reason of why aren't they 10-0? Why aren't they playing better? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're 8-2. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'll disagree a little bit with Derek Gunn because I agree the timing of it is obviously why now? Like, were you sitting on this? Was it something? But I mean, I respect him and trust that there is at least one person who has said they're not happy with the way the offenses have run. Whether that's Kevin Petula, whether that's AJ Brown, whether it's Big Dom, somebody said that. But and I get not giving your sources, but you're right. The timing just it's kind of like, all right, like I get you're trying to do a job and I don't know. It's just but I don't think it's the end of the world if somebody's unhappy with the way Jalen plays the game, because at the end of the day, Jalen has made whoever that is a lot of money. He's won them a Super Bowl, gotten them to another one, has them 8-2. So I think there's plenty of blame to go around. Everybody needs to play better, including Jalen. I think the play calling could be better. I think the offensive line could play better. I think Saquon isn't hitting the holes the same way he did last year. AJ, for whatever reason, does look a half a step slower than what he did. Maybe part of that's just like we've talked about getting the plays in. I mean, really, the only ones that I could say don't have to play better would be Devontae and Dallas Goedert because I feel like they're both playing well this year. So I don't think either one of them would be complaining. But I do, like I said, I think there's where there's smoke, there's fire. But at the end of the day, you gotta kind of look at it. And I heard Ike Reese say something similar to this the other day. He's won you a Super Bowl. So you got to kind of be careful what you're starting to say. But I
Look,
mean, I'd rather this than be 2-8.
absolutely, and him putting up 500 yards a game, like it's just it's dumb. And look, whoever it was that was complaining within that organization, if they were here last year, they probably weren't complaining when they got sized for their Super Bowl ring.
No, I
So again, just like I brought up with the AJ Brown stuff, if you have a problem, be a man and bring it up in house. Don't leak your information, and go outside of the house and bring other people involved that don't need to be involved. I think that's bush league, and I think look, if there was any other quarterback in the Eagles locker room, I'd probably feel a little worse about it. Jalen doesn't care. He just
no,
doesn't care. He doesn't listen to anything like that. He doesn't care, and so do I
I
think that
disagree. I
there's
do think he listens. I
well, you know
think
what I mean. Yeah,
he'll
yeah,
use
yeah.
something like this as motivation. But
Sure.
you're right, though. I don't think he cares about it.
It doesn't phase him to the point of it's gonna get in his head and cause him to play differently. I don't think
No,
that's the case. Um,
no,
but look, my thing is, if you got an issue with the way he's like Derek Gunn's report said there's multiple people that are frustrated with the way Jalen runs the offense and the way that he is playing the offense. So he made it seem like Jalen is making changes to the plays that are called and calling his own game. How is that possible when you're getting to the line of scrimmage with 8 seconds left? He doesn't have
that's
time to call his own game. So that's where I call a little bit of bullshit on it to a point of how do you like and Derek Gunn came out and he tried to paraphrase what Devontae Smith said after the Sunday night game or the Monday night game that we saw that you and I talked about last week with Devontae with that throw, like, well, whatever 1-11 draw up, we're okay with it because they've proven that they can do it. And the way he paraphrased it wasn't how Devontae said it. So if you're going to quote somebody, you got to quote them
got to
exactly
quote
or
it.
you lose exactly. So like that's why I believe, to your point, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I'm sure he has a credible source within the organization. Having said that, I don't know if it's a bad game, a whisper down the lane at this point, where they said, "We don't like the way the offense is playing." We already know that AJ's stuff didn't stick, right? We're not nobody's talking about the AJ stuff anymore. That AJ came out with an 8-minute interview, and everybody's like, all right, well, I guess we have to think of something else. And Derek Gunn's like, oh, well, they had to mean Jalen Hurts, so let's talk about Jalen Hurts. That's
Right.
where I have a problem with it. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, and especially because I believe that, like, I don't know if you saw Jalen then was asked about it, and he said, "Nobody's come to me."
Hmm.
I believe that, and I unless he's that standoffish, which I could kinda see, where he's not you're not able to approach him and come w with stuff like that, but he's like, "Look, I need to get ba," like, he took accountability for it. Like, I think that's the thing, even with AJ Brown, he took accountability for it,
Yeah,
and it's just, I don't know. I
I
do
don't.
think that
Well, no, I don't think that he's standoffish. I think some people are just like, if I go to jail and I'm probably going to get a fortune cookie response. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to get
it's true.
Confucius say, it's like, all right, well, this is going to go nowhere. So what's the point of even bringing it up type thing? Maybe that's why. Maybe they leak it to the media. But I don't think it was players. I think it was somebody else complaining about it. I think it was somebody else within the organization just kind of saying something. And all it's going to take, there's going to have to be a closed door meeting at some point where they just go, let's keep this shit in house. Stop bringing it up to other people. The next time something gets leaked, we're closing off the media or we're doing something, right? Something's going to happen.
Right, and so I can't remember what song. Oh, they were just playing I just was, as we were waiting to get started, they led off practice today with "You Can Hate Me Now," Nas and Diddy, so they're hearing it, and I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if Sirianni was like, "Cut the shit, like, enough."
Yeah.
Like like, they have to it's had to have been addressed by now, one way or the other. Like, I
Yeah. I
don't
mean,
think
it's
it gets to this point without addressing it at some point.
right. It's a trust thing, right? Like if you're in a relationship with somebody and they're constantly going to their best friend with issues between you two instead of coming to you, that's a trust issue. Like you can't how do you
Yeah,
like you can't go to that person and talk to them if you know they're going to go talk and run their mouth to somebody else, right? So that's probably what Nick is saying. Like if you have an issue with me, bring it up to me. Don't go to somebody else. And that was part of the issue last year that BG kind of blew the whistle on. So look, I think I think this is all kind of being blown way out of proportion on this. Do I think that they have issues? Sure. Every team has issues, especially this time of year. And look, can Jalen play better? Yeah, he can play better, but he still only has 2 turnovers on the year, right? Um, and on top of that, he has 21 touchdowns, I think it is, on the year. So he's on pace to have a career year when it comes to passing touchdowns,
yeah,
right? And then at the end of the day, ah, I think everybody needs to. We talked about it before with Stoutland Tech. It's not even university; it's just tech. Um, And I think at this point, we need to just acknowledge the fact that the offensive line has played like garbage this year. It's played like garbage. They've been too inconsistent. And yes, I know injuries played a huge role in that. And I'm not disputing that, but I don't want that to be an excuse, right? The
because
offensive line has
it's
just
not
played
been an issue before.
correct. Correct. So the offensive line has just played like garbage, and that has a trickle down effect because what was successful last year, the offense looked mediocre like this, except for Saquon would break a 70-yard run.
Yeah,
The offense would look exactly how it's looking now. The only difference is in the third quarter, Saquon would break a 70-yard run and then break it open. That's exactly what would happen. It's not happening this year because the offensive line can't create those same holes that they did last year. That's all it
right.
is.
Last year they would have won 23-9 against the Lions, and then you
Exactly.
win 23-9. I don't think anybody's complaining about a thing.
Nobody's saying a damn thing. And look,
Or you beat
starting starting this weekend, if they average 24 to 25 points a game from this game on throughout the rest of the season, nobody's going to say a damn thing.
no,
Nobody's going to say a damn
I,
thing.
I don't. I don't think so. And Yeah, I mean, and I think to your point with, and I saw a couple people say, "Oh, well, everybody does this with Howie and blah 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 blah." Part of the offensive line you got to put on Howie as well because as much as we call it Stoutland Tech, there's only so much he can do with the players he has. So, like, you got the dude, I can't remember his name, the dude from Michigan who hasn't
Drew
sniffed
Kendall.
the field. You have Willie Lampkin, who's been off his practice window has been open for like 3 weeks now. Uh, so, I mean, part of that has to fall on Howie as well. And I mean, you got guys like Toth and Steen who you knew were okay backups, but they weren't like stepping right in and like, oh, I feel confident that Brett Toth is coming in or Tyler
They
Steen is
weren't
coming in.
right.
We've
They're
had
not
issues
meant to
with
be
them in the
long
past.
term. Right. They're not
Right.
meant to be long term. They're short term fixes. They're not long term solutions. You know?
So do you hear that, haters? I'm ripping Howie a little bit. It does happen.
Howie's still a god. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But look,
I'm
and at
just
the end of
saying.
the day, that's why the tush push got stopped because Toth can't run. He can't block in the tush
No.
push. He can't. He can't do it. You know, that and the fact that the defensive lineman was off sides and Steen moved his hand and Steen got called for a false start, which is the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
It's the rule. I looked it up. It's the rule. I didn't understand it, and it made no sense to me. And Sirianni, I heard, backed it up. He was like, I guess I could have told him the rule better. But to me, it doesn't make any sense. Like, how is that a false start? Like, you're taught defensive jumps, you move,
The
and he's like,
defense
okay,
comes
the
into the
guy's
neutral
offsides.
zone. Yeah, he came in
Right.
the neutral zone, so I jumped. I mean, I don't know. That's the opposite of what Mailata did last week, where the guy came in the neutral zone, then went back, and then Mailata went, "Oh, let me
Oh.
jump offside." Yeah, ridiculous.
But the Eagles get all the calls, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Everybody's bringing up the Phantom AJ Brown call. Do we really think the Lions were going to go 80 yards and score a
not
game
with the way
tying
that defense has
touchdown?
been playing. No.
No, no. And look, I saw an AI generated quote from Jared Goff going, everybody wants to talk about the Phantom pass interference call. Our offense wasn't going to go 80 yards against that defense. We were going to get sacked and turn the ball over, and the game would have been over anyway. It's like, well, all right.
Right.
It may be AI, but it may be truth too.
But I will say though, I thought that it was definitely a ticky. And after watching the replays, I don't think it was. Put it this way: it was more of a defensive hold than it was
Correct.
PI. But I thought that penalty was way more egregious than what they called on Bradbury in the Super Bowl. Like
Oh,
what
100%.
happened on AJ was way worse than what James Bradbury did.
Yeah, I mean, so typically when you call somebody for a hold like they did for Bradbury, you twist them around. He didn't twist Schuster around at all. But
No,
you saw in the pass interference against
he
AJ, they yanked his arm. Like he was holding his arm. He couldn't.
yeah
He could only go up with one arm. Like that's the textbook definition of holding. You know what I mean? He's holding his
yes.
arm down so he can't lift it up. So, I agree with you. I don't think it should have been pass interference. I think it should have been at least defensive holding. I could have also seen a no call there and been fine with it. But look, at the end of the day, across the league, the refs have been horrible this year with
Horrible.
ticky tack
No,
calls.
they've
So
been brutal.
yeah, and that's in
Uh,
every game. It's not just the Eagles games.
no, I was gonna say, like watching the Reds, like there's Scott Hansen is like that was terrible. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's ridiculous. Before we get into the picks, the other big news was, which now the tune changed a little bit, but Lane, and we'll get more into that when we go. But you ready for the Fred Johnson experience? He said he's ready.
Yeah, yeah, I'm ready. Look, same thing happened last year. Lane was out for 6 games, and Fred Johnson came in, and they went 5-1. So I think I think they're good. And look, I think the biggest impact is just going to be Lane's leadership, right?
Yeah.
But if he's on the sideline at all, he'll still supply a little bit of that leadership. It won't be the same as him out there playing and competing, but he'll still be a factor for sure. Um, but I think that's where you're going to notice it more. I think from a perspective of the offensive line. Now, granted, last year you had what's his name, Mekhi Becton playing guard, so that was a little different. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm very optimistic about it. The only thing that concerns me is I like having Freddie eligible. Freddie's not eligible. Freddie's forced to play now, so that makes it a little
Right.
different, you know.
I mean, Big Willie's got some athleticism, so maybe Big Willie fills in as the sixth offensive lineman.
Let's hope. Otherwise, he's just sitting there collecting a paycheck and doing nothing. I don't
But
get it.
never mind. I don't want to get
Yeah.
into Howie again. But all right. So looking at the picks last week, another brutal week for both of us. We both got the score or the winner right. I won't even say the score right. We were just a little bit high on that.
A
It
little
was
bit. A little bit.
an under better's dream.
Well, I will say when we made that pick, I don't think either one of us understood that there was 40-mile-an-hour winds going to happen.
No, did
So I
not.
think we would have picked a little differently had we known that.
Right. And I also, had I checked the weather earlier in the day, would have dressed more appropriately for 40-mile-per-hour wind. First time in 25 years, I was underdressed for a game, and I was cold. And I was
Yeah,
cold all day on Monday too.
that wind was swirling, man. It was probably in your bones at that point. Nothing you can
It
do
was.
about it. Yep.
I was eating soup for lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So we tied. So that brings the record what now? 3-6-2.
There you go. I like it. I like it.
Listen,
That
I'm not
makes
out
me
of it yet
6-3-2,
mathematically.
right? Yeah.
Yes,
All
it
right.
does. I'm not out of it mathematically.
Not looking
I
good
fully
though.
expect I expect a long playoff run, so plenty of time to catch up.
Well, we'll see what happens, buddy. We'll see what happens this week.
All right, so it is Dallas week. Still, all these years later, still one of the better rivalries in the league. There's just something different about Eagles Cowboys. Like I think I've made no secret about this. I think my more hated rival is the Giants, just because the proximity, and I think us in New York are so close. But Dallas is like a different category almost, because most of the Dallas fans I know have never even been to Dallas, couldn't pick out Dallas on a map, were born and raised right around the corner from me and you when we were kids. And it's just the very definition of cockroaches. So
You you
definitely it
you got a fan in mind that you want to shout out right now?
no, because he technically grew up about an hour and a half away from us, and that's who I
All
was
right.
thinking of somebody. But you know the guy. We all know
I know the
them.
guy. Yeah, I
Uh,
know the
a,
guy.
a Cowboys fan, a Yankees fan, a Chicago Bulls fan, born around like between 1977 and 1983. That guy. We all know him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out to Corey. I mean, sorry, we weren't name dropping. Yeah, we weren't name dropping.
Lee Heighton's finest.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, look, I mean, for
um,
me personally, Dallas has always been my hated rival because, I was born in 81. So when I was, 10, 11, 12, like those middle school years, everybody was a Dallas fan because Dallas was winning Super Bowls and doing that stuff. And I'm sitting here as an Eagles fan. We don't have nothing. This is on the heels of we don't have Randall anymore. Reggie went to Green Bay because God told him to. Um, God forbid the tragedy with Jerome. We don't have anything else going on. Seth was leaving to go to Arizona. You know what I mean? So
we
like
have Ray Rhodes.
we didn't have anything, right? So, it was just whatever we could do to combat Dallas fans. And like we would argue till we were blue in the face, but then when they started winning Super Bowls, it was like, oh, nothing we can do. So they've always been my hated rival. The stupid star, I've hated the star ever since I was a kid. I never wanted to draw a star in like art class, never wanted to look at a star in geometry class, never wanted to deal with a star at all, ever.
Don't put
Didn't want
stars
a
on the Christmas
telescope. Yeah.
tree.
Nope. Didn't want a telescope to look at the stars. Didn't care what the Big Dipper was because it involved stars. I hated silver and blue. Just you name it, I hated it.
Love it. And I still can't get the picture of that stupid, ugly And you know the one I'm talking about, the blue and silver starter pullover jacket with just that blue star on the back.
Yep,
Everybody
yep.
had them.
Everybody. Well, not us. Not us, my friend. Not us.
No, but I still have my Sixers one hanging in the closet.
Yeah, I didn't have see, this is where we can go back and forth about it, but this is why you were the favorite son because you got starter stuff and I had Apex One. Remember Apex One? It was like the team who starter
Stop
jacket.
it.
I
That's
had
because you
Apex
wanted the
One.
Florida State. You wanted the Florida State one, and they didn't make a Florida State starter.
I'm just saying, yeah, because the NCAA at the time was like licensed. They weren't allowed to have starter. Yeah, I get it, but I had Timu starter jackets. It wasn't even the same material. It was like there was a warning label that said extremely flammable on it, and I'm like, this isn't cool.
Don't go near flames. And back then,
Yeah,
everybody smoked in the house
yeah,
anyway.
exactly, exactly. So I was like, oh, great, I'm gonna wear this, and I won't be around. Awesome.
All right. So before we get into the Cowboys game, it wouldn't be right if we didn't pick some of our favorite Eagles Cowboys moments of all time. And you probably noticed I was very young for this. It's not on my list, but I'm wearing the Wilbert Montgomery jersey. Really, the play that ignited or reignited, actually, I should say ignited, because up until that point, the Cowboys had dominated the Eagles all through the 60s and 70s. So the first time beating them, Wilbert started off the game with the long touchdown run. Eagles beat them finally and go to the Super Bowl.
Cousin Wilbert. I tell people that all the time that he's a distant cousin, and people are like, "Really?" I'm like, "No," but just because we have the same
Yeah.
last name, it sounds good, right?
Up until
So
last year, I had Ella thinking that we were really cousins with him.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, then I'm not gonna not tell anybody. I'm just gonna tell them the truth for now on and tell them that we are cousins. You know, I won't
Yeah,
lie to anybody anymore. We are cousins,
I love
guys.
it. He
Shout out to
he
cousin
just doesn't
Wilbert. We'll
come
see
to
you at
the
Christmas.
he just doesn't come to Christmas. Yeah.
No, yeah, he skips Christmas. He calls us on Thanksgiving every now and then, but he doesn't come to Christmas. He's too big time for us.
No, but so my first memory or first game. And to me, this one was awesome because it signified, like you said, I felt like the Eagles were a second class organization until Andy Reid and Donovan got here. And that's the pickle juice game back in 2000. Open up the season, 100 and whatever, 14 degrees on the field. They're drinking pickle juice. Deuce Staley runs for 200 yards. Donovan announced his arrival as the starter. And I think that kind of set the tone. They started off with an onside kick and set the tone for the Andy Donovan era.
Love it, love it. Yeah, that was an awesome game, and that was setting the tone for sure. It was the first time we heard about pickle juice being used in
Yeah.
any
Last time,
rhyme or
too.
reason. Yeah, and well, people use it when they take shots in the bar because they're like, I won't get hung over as much. Pretty smart,
Hydration.
pretty smart. Yeah, hydration, right? So, look, I'm gonna go. I vaguely remember this, but this was the strike year, right? Where Buddy Ryan hated Tom Landry, and instead of kneeling the ball, he fake kneeled and threw the ball deep. They draw a pass interference, and then they run the ball in with none other than Keith Byers with 2 seconds
Yep.
left in the game. Time runs out. They run up the score against Tom Landry, and that just added fuel to that rivalry. What did I believe Tom Landry made a comment about Buddy being fat or something like that. So like it was and Buddy hated him. Buddy hated Tom Landry. He
Yeah.
hated
Well,
because
he did the same
they
thing with the replacement players a couple weeks
correct.
before that.
That's what I was just getting ready to
He
say. The
had
reason
Tony
why he did
Dorsett
it
playing.
yeah, the people that crossed over the picket line and did all that stuff. So kudos to Buddy for that. Buddy will always have a place in my heart for doing what Philadelphia would do. That was the epitome of Philadelphia, and that was awesome. Loved
Yes.
every second of it.
I don't think he ever lost. I might be off on this. I don't think he ever lost to the Cowboys with his regular players. I think the only time he lost was that replacement game in '87.
Yeah, I
And I
believe you're right.
think he may have beaten them both times in '86 too. But
Yeah.
either way, like he dominated them. So
Yep. Yep.
love me somebody. All right, and I think this is probably on everybody's list, but I just remember they were the better team. but it was one of those years where we had hope that maybe we could get out of the second class citizenship. And that was 4th and 1. The fact that Barry Switzer did it, um, Pat Summerall was like, "Oh, that's terrible. You can't call the 2-minute warning there." And not only did he not punt it, he went for it, ran the exact same play. And as Merrill said, the Eagles stopped him again. And I think everybody forgets the Eagles still had to drive down like 25 yards to kick the game winning field goal still in that game.
Yep, yep, because it was shortly over midfield is where they did the
Yeah.
stop. So that was the other game, one of the other games on my list. Being that it's Kelly Green week and Dallas week, I mean, one of the best moments ever, in my opinion, when growing up, and like it will always be in my head. And look, you know me with music lyrics and everything like that. There's random stuff that goes through my head on a daily basis, and I could probably tell you at least one time every single day of my life. I hear they give it to Smith and they stop him again. It's just I will randomly blurt it out at work. I will randomly blurt it out to anybody. Like if something comes up and they say they did it again, I'll go, they give it to Smith and they stop him again. Like it'll something will trigger it and it'll just come up. So that was like a staple of our childhood, watching that and seeing that live and doing all that. So huge, huge moment. One of my favorite moments of all time.
No, 100%. And how great is Merrill? It's Groundhog's Day, and they
It's
can't take this one away.
the joy that we've had and the luck that we've had in Philadelphia with him and Harry Callis. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't you can't ask for so some towns don't even get one of those guys. We're lucky to have two of the greatest ever in
Yeah.
any sport. Harry Callis was so good, he used to do voiceovers for NFL films. You know what I mean? Like that's how good
Yeah.
he was.
He,
And Merrill
he
Reese,
used to do Westwood One too. I think radio games as well.
yeah, yeah, and it's just it's insane, man. And staples of our childhood. Look, I'm gonna say my third one before you can say it because this
All
is
right.
probably on your list too. 2008. Winner take all NFC East. We needed 17 different things to go right before that game happened. And sure as shit, all 17 games went the way that we needed them to go. So that game was a winner, takes the division, and makes the playoffs. And not only did the Eagles win, they dominated 44-6. And you know as well as I do, the capper of the whole night, Lito Shepherd, picking off Tony Romo, running it 90 plus yards to the end zone. And while he was at the 40, the guy over the loudspeaker starts playing the Lito Shuffle at the 40-yard line because he had
Wasn't even
nothing but
close to
open
the end
field.
zone yet.
Not even close. And they were playing the Lito Shuffle. And we looked at each other going, he's playing that shit right now. He's playing it right now. He didn't even score yet. He had a good 3 to 4 seconds before he even crossed the goal line. And that
Yes.
was just an incredible moment. And it was another moment in that Andy Reid Donovan era where we were like, all right, we have not only have we like made it, but now we're dominating Dallas. We're dominating
Yes.
Dallas at this point. So
No,
it
and the
definitely helped
crazy
our
thing,
rival.
absolutely, and the crazy thing about that game was we were like everybody was going to go in because it was a Dallas game, but everybody waited. I think it was like the Bears and Texans or the Bears and Buccaneers, I think, and the
Yeah,
Buccaneers ended up winning that game, and everybody like ran into the stadium, and the players even said, "We're like, where's everybody at?" And they were thinking at that point, all right, we have no shot now. And then all of a sudden, everybody piled in, and it was electric. They said, and that's part like kind of led them to like, all right, we got something special here going.
yeah. It was chaos, man. It was chaos, and we knew there was just a there hasn't been a buzz in that stadium as much as we would want, but that buzz that night was probably one of the craziest environments and craziest atmospheres I think that we've ever had at the link since we've had tickets,
No,
right? So, and we've had tickets the whole time that the link's been there, but you know what I mean? Like, there's been you can
for
count
a
on a.
regular season game,
That's what I was
that
getting ready to
was
say. Like, that
Yeah,
was probably the most outside of the very opening of the stadium with Rocky and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But like that one with the stakes on the line and everything that you had going into it, that atmosphere was crazy, crazy.
nice. Yeah, I mean, and obviously there's so many different memories and points in this rivalry, but do we got another one coming this Sunday?
I think we do. I think we do. I think we do. And
I mean, this
nothing will make me happier the fact that it's in Dallas and we'll get to do that down there.
and they're wearing the Kelly Green jerseys. Like that's what I love, the fact that they're actually wearing them on the road. Um, I, and I think so much is being made of, oh, the Cowboys offense. But if you take a deeper look at it, they haven't played anybody, and the teams they've played against, they that are good, they struggled against.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree. And look, Dallas's offense is what it is. They're gonna get yards. They're gonna put up points. They're an explosive offense. They're a good offense, but their defense is gettable. And I don't think like what you just brought up. I mean, when Dallas plays a good team and a good defense, Dak's. You know what I mean? Like that offense does what it does, and yeah, they might get yards, but they can't put it in the end zone, and that's
Right.
ultimately how the Eagles play defense. You know what I mean? They want people to get yards, but not give up the points. It's the bend but don't break Jim Johnson era, and Vic Fangio reminds me of Jim Johnson. I think he's this era is Jim Johnson. So, you
No,
know,
I like it.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see.
So do you think, and I saw this and I know I saw it before, but just like to kind of really put it in perspective and think about it, this is the first time in since Jalen Hurts took over as the quarterback that he's going against Dak both games and the same season. And
Yeah,
do you think, obviously he has enough on his plate with all the other outside noise for motivation, and he seems to be the kind of guy that can get himself motivated no matter what. You think that plays a little bit in his motivation this week too, because everybody's like, Dak's the MVP, Dak's this.
I think it adds a little more chip on his shoulder. Not that the chip on his shoulder can get much bigger, because I think he always plays with a chip on his shoulder. But I think this adds a little bit to it. He'll never tell you that, and you know what
No,
I mean. But like, I think I think it's primed and ready for him to come out because it's a 4 o'clock game, so it's prime time. People are watching it. It's the national game of the week or whatever they like to call it. Um, and that's just something tells me he's going to come out and play well. He's going to play well.
no, I agree. And I mean, I, I, I just can't see. I don't know. Let's get into it. I mean, we might as
Let's
well,
get
because
into
now
it.
I'm like
Yeah,
chomping at the bit. I'm ready to like tackle through the computer. um, but um, so do you want to start, or you want me to start with the three keys?
I'll start. I'll start. You started last week. I'll start this week. So three keys I
Perfect.
got. So number one, the offensive line needs to play well. Um, offensive line has been the Achilles heel pretty much all year. I know people say Jalen is playing mediocre. He's playing horrible. He's playing this. Look, it, it all starts with the offensive line. The offensive line is the trigger, and it's a trickle down effect for Saquon. It's a trickle down effect for Jalen. It's a trickle down effect for everything. So the offensive line plays better. The offense itself will play better. So my focus is on the offensive line. They need to play better. That's the first key. Second key, offense as a whole needs to get going. Dallas defense is gettable, as I said. They're playing inside, so there's no weather concerns. They don't have to deal with the wind. They don't have to deal with the rain. They may have to deal with the stupid sun shadow that happens at Jerry's World. They can't put a curtain or mini blinds up or anything to stop that, I guess. But you know, the offense has no excuse to not put up numbers and put up yards, right? So I think one thing's for sure, if they come out this week and only put up 9 points or 16 points, whether they win or lose, you're going to get people saying that this offense is what it is. This is how it's going to
Oh,
be all year.
100%.
Defense is going to have to carry them to a championship. I don't really care. The 85 Bears got led by the defense, and that led them to a championship. The 2000 Ravens led them to a championship. You know what I mean? So, like, the
Right.
Broncos, even though they had Peyton Manning, that defense led them to a championship. So, look, it is what it is. Um, and the third key, the defense. Defense needs to continue to get pressure. If they put pressure on Dak, we all know that Dak will Dak. You and I like to say that a lot, but Dak will fold under pressure. He will make mistakes. They need to do exactly what they did to golf, get pressure on him. The only difference is golf was a statue. Dak can move back there, so they need to be
Right.
disciplined and not over pursue and have those back breaking 12-yard rushes for first down. So they need to keep him contained and do that. If they do those three keys, I think they have a very good shot of dominating this game and winning.
No, and I mean, I thought they did a good job with Jordan Love with that too, containing his scrambles. So I think that's just the way Vic coaches. So I like it, and I guess I'll start off with my third key to the game because it's the exact same one as you: the pass rush. Continue to use that rotation to your advantage. Help your secondary out because you did it last week. You're going to need to do it again with two good receivers. Get pressure on Dak. Don't let him just sit back there and pick you apart. And it's funny because I was like, let Dak be Dak. He's going to find a way to screw it up at some point if you let him. So allow him the opportunity to screw up.
Yep. Yep. Love it.
Um, Second one, block out the noise. Lots of stuff going on, and whether or not they want to admit that, oh, we don't listen to the radio, we don't read the papers or whatever, they know what's going on. They know what's being said. So block out the noise, specifically Jalen, and just be Jalen. If that means you have to throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, okay. If it means throwing for 100 and Saquon gets going, okay, but just be you, play your game, and block out the noise. And I think they do a good job at that. Sirianni, for all the hate that he gets from everybody, one thing he does extremely well is he knows what to say and how to get this team motivated and going. And they're going to need it this week. And I mean, it's the Cowboys. I mean, it's not going to be hard to get up for this game anyway. Did you see BG's hat at the Sixers game?
I did. I did. Looked awesome. I
I
want
need
one.
to get that
I
hat.
want one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want one.
So Ryan from Philly Goat, if you're out there listening, I'm sure there's no copyright if you just put a blue star with a circle. I'm just saying.
It doesn't even need to be a red circle. It can be whatever color you want. Just make it work, and we'll buy them.
A green circle.
Yeah, there you go.
Kelly Green
Whatever
circle.
works. Yeah, Kelly Green, perfect.
And then the final key, I think, and maybe I'm too high on him. I don't know, but Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson has said all the right things this week. He was like, it's time for me to go out there and make a name for myself. So Fred, go out there, make a name for yourself, take over. I hate to say it this way. You're not going to be right now prime Lane Johnson, but Lane Johnson this season has not been prime Lane Johnson. You can be better than what Lane Johnson has. Open up the holes, get Saquon going, and big guy, go make a name for yourself. That's what he said, and I believe he's going to do it.
Love it. Love it. You know I love me some Freddie, man. I love me some Freddie. I cheer louder than anybody when Freddie's eligible, when they announce that he's eligible. So
I
I'm
agree.
expecting big things out of Freddie. I like the way Freddie plays. He's a big guy. He's earned it, and he's hungry. So let's do it. Let's do it. I
Why
like
would
that.
the Jaguars ever let him go again? Like that was just dumb. They just released him.
It's the Jaguars, man. They're not exactly
Yeah.
a smart organization. Just saying.
Touche. All right. So what do you got for a score?
So I got the Eagles winning 24-13. I think the defense stifles Dak. I think the Eagles do score. They get 3 touchdowns and a field goal, but they stifle Dak. They force him into some uncomfortable situations, and I'll get into what I think they're going to do. But yeah, I definitely think the Eagles win this one, and I don't think it's a nail biter. I think I don't want to say comfortably, but I think they win rather comfortably. So we're not on the edge of our seat till 20 seconds left in the game. What
Right.
about you?
No, pretty close to it. I got 26-17. I feel like in Dallas, there's always weird and odd scores in these games. So I don't know whether it's like a safety, a missed field goal, or missed extra point somewhere along the line. But 26-17, I don't necessarily think we're going to see like the offense put up 40 points or anything like that. But I do think everybody takes a deep breath and exhales after this game. And then we're going into, I mean, I think next week's game against the Bears on a short week is definitely going to be a lot tougher than what everybody's saying. So I think they go in, take care of business, and everybody's just like, okay, breathes a sigh of relief, and we're good.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't disagree, and we'll get into that next week. But let's not get it twisted that the Bears have played great defenses during this run. I mean, everybody's
No.
talking about Caleb Williams with his comeback wins. It's been against bottom feeder defenses, so let's not get carried away yet. So if they win this week, all right, I'll give them a shot. I'll give them a shot going into that week. But my fantasy stars of the game, I have the defense. I'm going to steal a little bit of your thunder this week. The defense gets 3 sacks. They're on that 3-sack train, and they force 2 turnovers against Dak. Now, look, can one of them be a pick six or a fumble recovery for a touchdown? Absolutely, but I'm not calling that. I'm just saying they get 2 turnovers.
This will be the week it happens.
This will be the week, right? Jalen, 3 total touchdowns. I'm going with 3 total touchdowns for Jalen because I think he does get in the end zone with his feet, because I think they hear the chatter this week, and they run a couple more designed runs for Jalen, and I think that pays dividends this week. I also have Saquon with 80 yards and a touchdown. So I don't know how that's going to work, right? So maybe Jalen dumps one off to Saquon. Saquon gets in. Maybe that's how that works. I'm not quite sure. And then I was going back and forth with this one. I was like, all right, who's going to be the catcher that gets this? I'm going to go with Dallas Goedert. So it was between him and one of the wideouts. I'm going Dallas Goedert gets 50 yards and a touchdown. So that's where I think Jalen's 3 touchdowns go. I think he gets one, Saquon gets one, and Devontae Smith gets one, or Dallas Goedert gets one.
Dallas.
Yep.
Nice. All right. Well, who's your player of the game then?
Player of the game is going to be Saquon, because I think Saquon grinds it out, and I think he gets big first downs when they need it. But I think between running and catching the ball this week, I think Saquon dominates the way that we know that he could. And look, I have him down for 80 yards, but he could definitely go over that. And I think this is
Well,
the
it's
week that
funny
he
you
does it.
say that. Funny you
There you
say
go.
that, because he is my player of the game. I think Fred's going to get him going. I think they're going to try to control the clock and keep the Dallas offense off the field. So he's my player of the game. I got him going over 100 yards and a touchdown. I think
Okay.
we're going to finally it's going to be similar to what he did. What game was that? The Viking, was it the Vikings that they, or the Giants, when they had both those guys went over 100 yards?
The Giants. Yeah, it was the
Giants.
Giants
All right. Yeah.
because it was at
I
home.
think we're
Yeah.
going to see something similar to that, an old school kind of NFC East, just keep pounding it. So 100 yards and a touchdown. I got Jalen with 2 total touchdowns. I think he throws one. I think he gets one, runs one in. Similar thing. I don't think it's going to be a tush push. I think he's going to do, whether it's designed or not, I don't know, but I think he runs one in and throws for one. I think he's going to throw one to AJ Brown, anytime touchdown. I think there's just too much going on this week, and it's going to be a very similar press conference. Is that what y'all wanted to see? And that's where we'll end up with that. And I don't have 2 turnovers, but I have continue with the sack party, 3 sacks and an interception. Like, I'm going
Okay.
specifically, Dak's going to throw an interception.
All right.
I think that's like a solid bet. And I'm not going to put this in the official one, but I think you're going to see a huge game out of Jalen Carter. I think he's chomping at the bit. Keep him away from Dak until after pregame warmups. Get him off the field early. Whatever you have to do, but I think because of the way he got ejected in that first game, he's going to be ready for this.
I don't disagree at all. And look, I was gonna go Cooper DeJean. I think Cooper DeJean has a big game, and I think Cooper DeJean may be the one with the pick and maybe even a pick six. But I've gone with the defense the last few weeks, and they played well, but not enough to be players of the game. So that's why I figured I'd go offense this week. But yeah, I think the defense, as long as they come out and play their game, they're gonna give them fits.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't see it. I think you want to talk about like overrated and overhyped. That's the Cowboys this year. Did they improve at the trade deadline? Sure, but you had too many holes and you didn't plug up enough of them to,
So
in my opinion, to be considered a serious
here's the
threat.
thing: they improved, but they had to get back. So are the Cowboys better now than when they started the season before trading Micah? No,
No,
because
no,
they lost first round draft picks too. You know what I mean? Or they got first round
yeah,
draft picks back, but then they just traded one for so uh, their defensive tackles, sure, their defensive tackles are going to be problems. So like if the Eagles decide to do their stupid stuff and run straight up the middle every play, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a long day, right?
right.
But if they decide to run their traps and run their sweeps and get outside, Saquon could go for 200. But if he runs up the middle and they play those stupid games, you win. You play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You're running into the strength of the Dallas defense at that point. So you know, but
Let Fred
look,
make a name for himself.
I completely agree, man. And here's the real Vegas line: over under of how many times they show Jerry's pulled back face in his box, looking disgruntled and upset because the Eagles are whooping that ass. How many times? I'm gonna go 4.5.
I think I was going to say I would set the line at 5.5,
Okay.
especially because they're going to show it a lot at the beginning of the game too,
Yep.
because the stupid curtains or whatever. But yeah, I think hammer the over.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I think it's a no brainer at this point. No brainer.
Maybe we can get a middle at 5.
There you go. There you go.
Take over 4.5, under 5.5.
Yep. Yep. It's good. That's good.
And on that note, where can everybody find you?
Listen, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter at KyleMont16. You can catch me every Tuesday on the Clashing Conferences Network on the All Members Sports Pod. Jim has joined that already as well. It's a fun time. We're looking for any type of fandom out there. We're looking to expand to every state. Every state. We want a member from every state in the country or every team in every sport, whatever comes first. And look,
I like
I'm
it.
gonna I'm gonna use this platform too. If you're a Jets fan and you want to talk about how crappy your team is and what your future looks like with 5 draft picks, hit me up, hit Jim up. We would love to talk to you, whether it's on this pod, whether it's on the Clashing Conferences, wherever. We just want to pick your brain because we were in your spot at one point. We know how it feels. Please let us be the shoulder you can cry on.
Love
Where
it.
can they find you, brother? Where can they find you?
Every Monday through Friday, This Day in Philly Sports History, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And please, any of my social media at Philly Jimbo, doing my 3rd annual gift and food drive benefiting the Matty Ann Dixon Community Cupboard, looking for gift cards, food, supply donations. I went through Give Butter this year because they actually are more suited for this. They don't take as much money as GoFundMe does. So you can scan the QR code and donate right there. 100% of the proceeds go right to there. I split the money between gift cards and food. So every little bit helps, especially during this time of year.
That's awesome, man. It's a great thing that you do by supporting that and sharing that. So anything you guys can give, feel free, man, because it's definitely a good cause.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we will be back next week for Well, actually, we might be a little earlier next week now that I'm thinking about it because it's Black
Thanksgiving week.
Friday edition.
Yeah.
So
Love it. Love it.
love it. All right. We are the Montgomery brothers. We will see you next week. Go Birds.
F Dallas and go Birds.
Dallas sucks.
Those sucks.